So season's finally over. 44-38, which is I think is kind of funny because the last 44-38 team was the 2015-16 Pistons. They were the 8 seed that year. Kind of shows you like how weak the East is. They finished as the 6th seed this year, and they're going to be facing the New York Knicks in the first round. So, what do you think of this matchup? And do you think the Pistons could upset them?
Yeah, so definitely have a lot of mixed thoughts and opinions on this. I've always historically said that the regular season matchups are not a great indicator for the playoff matchups. The playoffs is just a different beast. It's a different brand of basketball, and all of that and experience comes into play. It's just a different game entirely. But at the same time, they did play a very convincing regular season series against the Knicks, especially because one of those games was just what, last week, not even. So there's a lot to point to as far as that goes that could easily sell me on the Pistons being able to give the Knicks a run for the money. I definitely don't have huge expectations to the point where I'm expecting them to win this series, but I do expect it to be competitive at the very least. I would be pretty shocked if they got swept or went out even in 5 games. So I think that there's reason to be pretty optimistic that they can at least make a competitive series. I don't know about win it, but overall, I'm expecting them to at least make it a worth watching.
I agree. I think you can take some things away from the regular season matchups. Obviously, the first game was very early in the season, and the Knicks just beat the Pistons on backdoor cuts that game. And they couldn't guard on the perimeter, and Cat just had a field day. But I thought the final 3 games of the season, you could definitely take some positives and negatives from it. I think the positives I look at it with the Pistons is Cade Cunningham loves playing against the Knicks.
Yeah.
He feasts, and I think when you kind of just talk about Cade, a lot of people, even national people, believe that he's going to be the best player in that series, which I kind of tend to agree with. I think if the Pistons really do want to upset the Knicks, I think Cade has to kind of go to that other gear. Like you need him to at least average 30 plus in the playoffs because that's what Jalen Brunson averages in his career. Because I'm sure Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Cat, like these guys have playoff experience. They know what playing in the playoffs is like. But I do think, them beating them 3 out of 4 times in the season series should give them a little bit of confidence going into game 1 in Madison Square Garden.
100%. And that really is all it's going to come down to is just how Cade looks and performs. And I don't want to get my hopes up too high because this is going to be, of course, his first playoff series. So there could be some growing pains there. But I'd say the interesting wrinkle to me is that throughout the regular season, the Knicks really did not send bodies at Cade whatsoever. Tibbs seemed to be incredibly happy with just letting Cade play anybody one on one. In the most recent game, there was a lot of possessions where Cade was allowed to go one on one against even their small guards like Brunson and McBride. So I'm really interested to see if they stay stubborn on that and just don't send doubles at Cade. Because if they just let Cade play one on one, even if it's against OG and even if it's against Mikal, throughout the regular season, when they did that, Cade was still able to get to his spots and get his buckets. So that's going to be what I'm really going to be watching in game 1 is if they adjust that and start to actually send doubles and even just help defense at Cade, because throughout the regular season, they did not do that. And that's why Cade was able to average 30 something points against the Knicks throughout the regular season. So I think that's going to be a huge factor.
Glad you brought that up because I talked about this maybe a month or two ago with the guys from the Detroit Bad Boys. I know Wes Davenport pointed it out. He's like, dude, I'm terrified of the Knicks because I feel like what they're going to do is what they did to Trae Young in the playoffs is just try to trap him in the half court and double him with OG and Mikal. But to your point, like in the regular season, it was just 1v1. There was no doubles with Cade whatsoever. The Pistons did the doubles with Jalen Brunson at times, trying to get the ball
Yeah.
out of his hands from, a couple possessions to possessions. But yeah, if they're just 1v1 in with, switching with Mikal or switching with OG, I think Cade would just love that matchup. But who really knows what Tibbs is going to do? I know a lot of Pistons fans, and like I'm never gonna tell a fan how to fan. Like, there's been so much shit talking on the timeline for like the past 48 hours. On both sides, like Knicks fans are trying to say that the Pistons aren't letting Knicks fans buy tickets to go to LCA, which is like a Ticketmaster thing. Like, I doubt the Pistons would say no to like people going to their arena because they're in the business to make money. But man, it's just been like a wild like 3-4 days.
Yeah, 100%. And ultimately, I don't know if the Knicks fans who have been responding recognize this, but with the entire context of where we were last season, where we are this season, and what the future outlook actually is for this team, I can't speak for everybody, but I'm not going to be in tears if they lose this series. Of course, I want them to win. I think that there's a puncher's chance that they can win. I'm not counting them out at all, but I really just want to see them break the streak of not winning a playoff game since 2008. If they can even just snag 1 or 2 games off the Knicks, I don't think any Pistons fans, besides maybe a small minority, are going to walk away and feel like anything else besides this was a very successful season. The Pistons are really playing with house money right now, so I know there might be a few jabs here and there, but the Knicks fans aren't really gonna, I don't think, hurt anybody's feelings if they do advance, and anything that they do say, I think, is gonna be falling on deaf ears because I think most of us are gonna walk away pretty happy regardless.
Yeah, I would say like as a Nick fan, and if I don't win that first round series, I would be really upset given like all the assets you gave up to get a Jalen Brunson, who, by the way, thank the Detroit Pistons for that. Carl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, like they should definitely advance to the second round given like that team itself. I think a lot of people before the season even began, they thought they were going to make the conference finals with Boston. But like I don't know what it is. Like when Jalen Brunson was out, they're like, oh, Mikal Bridges can actually score and play basketball. Who knew? And it's kind of a thing where it's like it's a wild time. 2008, I think, is the last time they won a playoff series or a playoff game, I should say. I was still a freshman in high school, and I got called Unk. Oh, it's just like, man, I'm showing my age right now. And there are some other Unks with me, like, yeah, man, I was like 42 the last time they won a playoff game, so I didn't feel as old. But yeah, it's been a minute. If they can win a playoff game, they can get that monkey off their back, because I think it's like 14 straight playoff losses for the Detroit Pistons. I think that would be a huge thing, and if they could possibly win a first round series, um, that'd be huge. That'd be big storylines, I think, for both of us to talk about. And just like, from the national side, like, because a lot of these national guys, like they just don't like the Knicks matching up with the Detroit Pistons. And it kind of makes me nervous that like all of them are like on the Pistons side. Like, yeah, we think the Pistons are going to win. Like, it's just like, it feels like a reverse jinx almost at this point.
Yeah, 100%. I was watching ESPN before the game tipped off today, and that was definitely the most coverage that I have seen of the Pistons on ESPN since I was a preteen. It has been forever since the ESPN guys have sat down and spoke about the Pistons for 15 minutes straight, but they did it today. And a lot of them, even Stephen A., who is, of course, a Knicks fan, was talking about how the Pistons have a real chance here. And I'm really curious to kind of see what you think about this as well. Do you think that there's a pretty big advantage that the Pistons are playing with house money and the Knicks have a lot of expectations, where if the Knicks do get bounced in the first round, like you said, that's a bad sign for all of the picks they gave up just to get Bridges this past summer and moving off Randall and Dante DiVincenzo. Whereas with the Pistons, I mean, they can just kind of go out there and play free because they've got nothing to lose, where the Knicks have a lot to lose.
I love that you brought that up because, to your point, Pistons are just playing with house money. They're happy to be there, and there's no expectations. Maybe there's some from a small minority of Pistons fans that expect them to compete for championships, and I love that section of Pistons fans that have very high standards. I'm sure you scroll the timeline, you see those people just overanalyze every game of why they lost the game, but there are different sections of the fan base. But circling back to like the Knicks, yeah, they don't win a first round series. I think Tom Thibodeau's fired, like straight up. You have conversations because there's so much talent on that roster. It's championship or bust. Now, who knows what happens with Jaylen Brown? Because I know I saw some stuff with him, and he might not be 100% healthy for the playoffs. I think Cleveland is a very good team. I think some people are still kind of just discounting them of making it out of the East, but I saw a stat that the Knicks are 0-10 against the top teams, top two teams in the East and the West, 0-10. So I mean, maybe it's a little bit of fraud alert on their part, but I a team like that, and they don't advance. I think there's less expectations for the Pistons to first round, not making out of the first round or bust. Like, I think maybe that pressure could get to maybe Tom Thibodeau or even maybe the players a little bit too, to answer your question.
Yeah, 100%. And ultimately, I don't think they really have any things they can do besides fire Tibbs if they do get bounced because they've leveraged all of their picks to go get Bridges. And I think they tossed in our pick to go get Cat, and they threw that pick in that we gave them for Stewart way back when. So they're really out of options. This is what they've got, and this is what they've got to roll with. So be interesting to see how that plays out. Another thing I'd be curious: do you think depth will play a factor? Because unbiased aside, before the season started, I like this Knicks roster. The only thing I kind of questioned was their depth. They don't
Mhm.
really have much of a bench. I mean, you look past their starting five, and that bench is pretty thin. Of course, Thibs does not like to play his bench regardless. You get to the playoffs, benches tighten up anyways. But do you think it could be a thing where that could play a big factor where maybe some of our bench guys, say Stu or Holland or even Beasley as a bench player, technically could swing this series, and maybe the Knicks just don't have a way of matching that kind of energy off the bench at all?
I do. Given who the coach is, given how Tom Thibodeau has been throughout his coaching career, dating back to Chicago, I think he goes 7-8 deep at the most. I don't think he's going to go too deep on his bench. I don't even know how much we're going to see Mitchell Robinson. I just don't. I think he's going to really rely on Precious Achua and Cat. And to your point, I think with the Pistons, Isaiah Stewart, I think, is going to be one of the biggest X factors in this first round matchup. Um, he held Cat 2 out of 7 from the field when he was guarding him. And I feel like Stu does such a good job of really getting into those tight spaces where it makes, Carl Anthony Towns uncomfortable. I think he does one of the better jobs of just guarding him. Just, I've caught a couple Knicks games this year. Like, Cat has gone off against some, pretty, marquee centers. But I think Stu, why he just presents so much challenges for Cat is he can actually move his feet, laterally. He can block shots. And I think Stu is going to be a really big X factor. Malik, this has really good games against the Knicks. Kind of sad that he fell one short of getting the 3-point crown, but I mean, I feel like Anthony Edwards, he knew he had to get it, beat him by one. But
Shot 18 threes, man. I was like,
hey, man, I'm not mad at
career
it. I'm not.
high. Yeah.
I'm not mad at it. I mean, I think they should just both go in the 3-point contest next year and see who really is the 3-point king. But it's another topic for another day. But I think the Pistons bench is going to have an advantage because you have guys like Ron Holland just impacts defensively. Like, he was a big reason why they got back into that game and closed that game out, is because the Knicks just really didn't have an answer for him in transition around the basket. And I just don't think Tom Thibodeau is the type of coach that is going to go deeper than a 7-8 man rotation. If he does, it would surprise me.
Yeah. I don't even know who else he would be putting in outside of Precious, and I don't know who's their seventh guy. Campaign, like they don't really have anybody else. And I mean, don't want to be the guy who brings up injuries and all that. Definitely not wishing for any, but hypothetically, that does happen. That could definitely swing in our favor because I think that as long as it's not Cade that goes down for us, that would end everything, of course. But we've got guys who have been playing the next man up role all year long, whether that's Paul Reed, Marcus Sasser. These guys have stepped up big time in the situations and opportunities they've had. And I don't know if the Knicks have that type of talent when you start looking down their bench.
Yeah, I mean, you could maybe say Deuce McBride. I think if you
Yeah.
just want to say, like, shooter, if you want to have Malik Beasley, Deuce McBride, I would give the edge to Beasley personally. I think Deuce is a really good player, but like, playoff rotations are going to tighten up. Like I expect JB to go maybe 8, 9 deep. 9, I think would be stretching it. And it's like there's guys on this roster that have been in the rotation that I don't think they're going to be in the rotation. Like I don't think JB is really going to play Simone Fontecchio that many minutes. I just don't. I think if you need a defender, I think Ron Holland, to me, I think should get a bulk of Simone Fontecchio's minutes in the playoffs because every time he goes out there, he impacts winning and impacts transition buckets. And I think that's where the Pistons are at their best. Nothing against Tech. It's just he's had such an up and down struggling season. But I would give the edge to the bench and, JB. And I know Tibbs has kind of beaten JB in previous years, kind of out coaching him. But I think this roster kind of tailors more to like what JB needs to do.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you're right on the money with Simone potentially missing out on some minutes here. I felt like there might have been a little bit of foreshadowing with that. He had a game recently where he had 5 minutes, which was not regular at all. I don't think he had any other games this year where he was actually playing where he only had 5 minutes. I think that starting to lean in that direction as well. And I also feel like probably won't see a lot of Sasser. I know that it's been an up and down year with him, and his role has changed a lot from the start of the year where he was behind Ivy. And then, of course, there was a part of the year where we had to rely on him heavy until we got Dennis. But I don't really see Marcus Sasser getting a ton of minutes in this series either. So I think that's probably going to be what we're looking at, right? Like the main starting 5 with Beasley, Holland, Stu, and Dennis. That's 9 right there. And even then, maybe Holland doesn't have as many minutes as he typically does throughout the better parts of the year as well. So it'll be interesting to see how JB plays his cards, because I'd say that's something that at this point, all we can really do is guess. We haven't seen him coach this team in the playoffs before.
I think, getting this, 4 or 5 days off at the play-in tournament will give them, good opportunities to study film and, maybe show some playoff sets that, JB has had kind of just hiding, because I think a lot of the stuff that we do, it works, but I would not surprise me if he's got a, couple plays up his sleeve that they'll be working on these next 5 days just to, kind of surprise the Knicks, kind of punch them first before they punch us. And I have a comment in the YouTube chat right now saying that we need to run the court as humanly possible to wear their ass out. And I agree with that. I do. I think if you have that fast break opportunity to just run the floor, every game we've played them, I feel like we outrun them. It's not saying that they can't run, but you have to rely on our youth because we're a younger team than them. We have more athletes, in my opinion. And you have guys like Asar and Ron and even Cade can just really push the tempo and the pace. And like I think that actually favors the Pistons as well, because I don't think the Knicks want to get into a track meet with them at all.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, the Pistons all year long have built their leads off of forced turnovers that lead to transition buckets. That's where the Pistons have been able to beat good teams throughout the year. They haven't had a lot of games where they went out and beat these premier teams by just having a slowed down, slow pace type of game. And I know the cliche is that in the playoffs, the game slows down and you don't see as much of that. But I think the Pistons, with guys like Asar, with like Holland, they can probably force some turnovers in the playoffs as well. Maybe it won't be to the same degree as what we see in the regular season, especially against bad teams. But I mean, I just don't see a world where you play a full playoff game and Asar and Ron aren't breaking off plays that turn into free buckets on the other end. So going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I can't wait. I haven't been this excited probably in 9 years. Like, nothing against like the Blake year, but I knew he wasn't 100%, and I kind of felt like we were going to get swept, especially after game 1 and Giannis. So I'm so glad we did not match up with the Bucks, because we couldn't even beat their G League team today.
I know.
I'm so glad. I was like, man, Milwaukee and Indiana is going to be a bloodbath first round series.
We've never shown have an answer for Giannis. I mean, earlier in this year, he had that 58-point game against us. I mean, you would think that Stu and Duren would be able to slow down Giannis to some degree, but they haven't shown the ability to do that all year. So after everything that's happened, this is definitely the preferred matchup I had. I mean, the Pacers have been playing really good post All-Star break. I was kind of leaning towards the Pacers, feeling like they might be the best matchup for us. And of course, there was a lot of animosity between those two teams, so I thought it might be interesting. But these last 2-3 weeks or so, I've definitely been hoping for this matchup just because Brunson's been hurt. We've played them well in the regular season. It just seems like out of those teams where we realistically could have matched up with, this is the one where I think I have the most faith.
Yeah, same here. I get fans want to have the Pacers to kind of rekindle that rivalry, but like their front court with Siakam and Turner, I think would just be such a disadvantage. Not to say that Tobias and Duran and Stu couldn't handle it. It's just banging down low with Siakam for a full 48 or just kind of tracking Miles Turner out on the perimeter, I think would be really taxing on just our front court players.
Yeah, another set of guys right there that we didn't show to have an answer to it all during the regular season. I think we did beat them once in that in-season tournament game many months ago now, but yeah, Turner lit us up a few times. Siakam lit us up. Yeah, I'm definitely happy with the way things shake it out.